Hello, everyone, and welcome to my little channel, which I call Sea Clamp History. Now, I call it that simply because it is easier to find, otherwise, it would have been called History of the USA. So, today, what we're going to talk about first is simply because I have posted a short called Battleship Edit. We're going to talk about John Paul Jones from the Revolutionary War. Scottish-born sailor John Paul Jones fought for the Patriots during the War of Independence. Taking the war to Britain, he spread panic by raiding the English mainland and fought an epic naval duel with a 44-gun Royal Navy warship in the North Sea. His actions gave a boost to American morale and founded the naval tradition of the United States. Jones, whose original name was John Paul, was the son of a gardener on an estate close to the Solway Firth, the waterway separating southwest Scotland from England. The lowly life of a landowner's servant did not appeal to him, so at the age of 13 he ran away to sea. Working on ships trading with the West Indies, he rose to be a captain entrusted with running a ship and buying and selling cargo. This was a lucrative position, but his unstable temperament led him to throw it away. Slight of build, John Paul was more elegant in his manners and dress than the average sea captain, but he was also edgy, quick-tempered, and violent. On one of his voyages, a flogging, standard punishment on ships at the time, resulted in the death of a man. Returning to Scotland, John Paul was briefly jailed but cleared of murder. 3 years later, he killed a sailor in a dispute over pay in the West Indies. Fearing that this time he would not escape prosecution, he fled to Virginia, adopting the additional name Jones to cover his tracks. The War of Independence offered Jones a new avenue for his ambitions. When the Congress created a Continental Navy in 1775, he went to Philadelphia to lobby for a position and was commissioned as a first lieutenant. Although the infant navy was tiny, the Congress was eager to engage in offensive operations that would raise American confidence in the war. Rapidly promoted to captain, Jones gave them what they wanted in late 1776. Voyaging north to Nova Scotia, he raided a port and intercepted transport ships that were carrying British military supplies. Eager to build on this success, Jones bombarded Congress with plans for ambitious expeditions, including an attack on Britain's African colonies, while advising on the formulation of naval regulations. Finally, in November 1777, he was allowed to sail to France, where he hoped to command a European-built frigate in raids into British home waters. The frigate never materialized, so, in April 1778, Jones set out from a French port to raid Britain on board his sloop Ranger. He chose to attack Whitehaven on the Solway Firth, the very port from which he had set out to sea as a 13-year-old. Despite a near mutinous crew, he executed a successful hit-and-run raid, landing under cover of darkness and damaging 2 small forts and some shipping. Bolstered by his success, he attempted to kidnap a local lord, the Earl of Selkirk, from St. Mary's Isle on the Scottish side of the Solway Firth. Finding the Earl away from home, Jones stole the family silver, which he politely returned after the war ended. Finally, he defeated the sloop HMS Drake in a fight off Carrickfergus, Ireland. It was the first time an American warship had beaten a British ship of its own size. Although Jones had inflicted negligible damage, his exploits shook British public opinion and in America firmly established his reputation as a patriot hero. Impressed by Jones, the French provided him with the resources for a more substantial operation. In August 1779, he set sail on the converted merchantman Bonhomme Richard as commodore of a 7-ship squadron. The voyage showed Jones's strength and weakness as a commander. He quarreled bitterly with the captains of the other ships in the squadron and failed to inspire the respect or loyalty of his senior officers. Yet as a fighter in the savage chaos of a sea battle, he was unsurpassed. Jones led his squadron around Scotland into the North Sea. An attempt to raid the port of Leith was aborted, but the mere presence of Jones's ships in the Firth of Forth caused panic ashore. Sailing southward, Jones then chanced upon a convoy of merchant ships off Flamborough Head. Bonhomme Richard engaged the larger of the 2 British warships escorting the convoy, HMS Serapis. Although outgunned, Jones won an unlikely victory in a brutal close-quarters encounter, while losing his ship and a large part of his crew. Jones transferred to the captured Serapis, heavily damaged but still seaworthy, and sailed to a port in the Netherlands. The Battle of Flamborough Head confirmed Jones's status as a hero, but his temperament did not inspire trust. No further command materialized until before the war's end. After the peace was signed, he was sent to France to collect prize money owed to American sailors for sinking enemy vessels. In 1787, Jones was signed as an admiral by the Russian Empire to engage the Turkish navy in the Black Sea. He did this with flair, but as usual, he made more enemies than friends. His indiscretion with a young girl in St. Petersburg enables his enemies to bring an accusation of rape. The charge was dropped, but he was obliged to leave Russia in a hurry. Jones spent the last years of his short life in Paris, apparently indifferent to the French Revolution, which was raging all around. In poor health, he died of pneumonia in 1792. His body lay in a neglected cemetery until, in the early 20th century, U.S. President Teddy Roosevelt brought his body back to the United States. Carried across the Atlantic on board USS Brooklyn in 1905, John Paul Jones was eventually interred in a marble tomb at Annapolis Naval Academy in Maryland. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you had a good experience and learned some things. If you have coughed or sneezed during this video, bless you. God bless.